I'm going to start the recording and let the folks in the Zoom room, which we sometimes we have a lot of people on Zoom and sometimes we have just one or two. Today, I have a co-host, and just so you guys know, I'm really excited. I've gotten so many questions about Opcity. Now, if not all of you have Opcity, don't panic. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is going to apply to any referrals that you get, potentially converting people who call you that are cold calls, whatever. Okay, so like best practices. We are talking mostly within the context of Opcity, but it applies to any referral source, any sort of live transfers, even sign calls and things like that. So, oh my gosh, I have this crazy hair sticking out. Y'all just have to deal with it because it's not going back in. Okay, so if you don't know me, I'm an agent at JPAR. I'm top 1% in the US. I have been for 8 years running. I am a real estate coach. Feel free to join us also on our Facebook page, The Real Agent Flex, where we teach agents how to build businesses, not jobs. Okay, there's a big difference. And I have with me today my fellow team lead of the SEAL group, which is our group here in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. And her name is Rebekah, and you're going to notice something. Our voices sound almost exactly alike, and we also share the name Harris because yes, we are sisters. So if you didn't think that you could work with family, we're here to prove that is wrong. Yes. We work well together. We're yin and yang, and I'm super excited to have her on. I wish there was a way where I could actually show the gallery. Let me see if we can have a gallery. Okay, we're going to show Lindsay on here too. It's not letting me do that any other way, but I'd like to be able to see both of us at the same time. So Rebekah,
yes,
yes, she has done a lot of Opcity leads and been super successful with them. Gotten a ton of referrals and repeat business off of Opcity, which if you don't know what that is a live transfer service. So basically you get a lead, you claim it, okay, and then bam, you're on the phone with that lead. So we want to talk about best practices. So gosh, Rebekah, I think you're like ranked for the region at the moment in like the top 5, right?
somewhere around there. I can't remember. In fact, actually, I'm going to turn off my leads right now. That's the one thing that I always like have to remind myself to do. So
Yeah.
snoozed. Okay. Yes, somewhere around that regionally. I think I've closed. Jenna and I actually started Opcity back in 2020. So when the market was we were all thinking what's going to happen because we were all isolated and, we thought the world was ending. Jenna and I were like, hey, this is offered through JPAR. Yes, there's a fee attached to it, but let's just see if this brings us some leads. Cause like we said, everyone just didn't know what we were going to do if things changed in the market at the time. So, I think I've closed 26 transactions just through Opcity. Like Jenna said, I mean, they've been anywhere, you guys, from, kind of small little leads that were like $180,000 homes, but some of those are investors. And what do investors do? They buy again, they sell again. So and they also have other friends who invest. So I feel like it's been really good. And I know Jenna's had the same experience of just, hey, you get these leads, but you can get a ton of referrals. And some of them bought 3 years ago. And then 3 years later, I've been able to help them sell the house they bought. So I feel like it's been a great return for me to invest time into Opcity. So.
Yeah. And if you guys, again, hang on, because we're going to apply this to some other live transfers and give you some other transfer services too. Okay. That you can opt in for. So here is, so what did we just hear? First and foremost, I want to tell you guys something. Rebekah was a nurse before she came into real estate, made the switch 7 years ago now, 6, 7? Okay. Oh my gosh, the time is flying. It's just weird. Yeah. And she has more than doubled her previous income, more than doubled. Okay. So if you are trying to figure all this out and figure out, can I make it in this industry? Yes, you can. And the reason I point that out is to kind of track her mindset toward these leads, I'm going to go back to the speaker view because we're getting more and more people on Zoom. Her mindset. Now, I talk to a lot of agents. Okay. I do a lot of coaching, and sometimes when they hear that a referral fee is attached to a lead, they don't want to work that lead. Somebody who's more than doubled their income as a nurse, which she was paid really well as a nurse. Okay. So she's making a lot of money. All right. In real estate. And she is still taking leads that are attached to a referral. Why aren't you? And I want to point that out because it's critical. It's because you're not thinking big enough. You're not thinking of that, whatever referral fee it is. I don't care if it's 20, 50, 30, 40, wherever you're at. Okay. For some of these services, you're going to be paying a referral fee. Who cares? Because you know how many phone calls it takes you to get a lead that didn't like, know, or trust you already? 12 to 15, just maybe, so that you can get an appointment with them. So this is a human being that is being given to you that is saying, I want to talk to an agent. Okay. And you pay a referral fee for that, but you're not calling them 20,000 million times to get that first conversation. Okay. Now, so also, did you hear what she said? You pay a referral fee, but she's gotten repeat sales and referrals from these people. One person should always end up being 5 to 15 other people for you. And if you are not thinking that way, you are not thinking like a business owner yet. You are thinking like a one-hit wonder. Don't be the one-hit wonder. Like, do a freaking awesome job and turn that lead, okay, into more leads. It should always be that way. And, all right. So, and guys, guess what? I'm not a CPA. I'm not an attorney. Talk to your CPA. But all the brokerage fees and things that you pay on that 1099, okay, talk to them about write-offs and things like that. Okay. So it is an investment. So let's talk about best practices. And don't be humble. Okay. When I ask this question. Okay. Rebekah was really trying to avoid this call today because she doesn't like to be on camera.
Somehow I am totally fine in front of a camera or on the phone with a total stranger or a potential client or a client, but get me in front of colleagues standing in the front of a room or on Zoom, and I'm just awkward. It's just the truth. Anyway.
Well, you haven't been awkward, but I want to ask, what do you think are, like, give me the top 1 or 2 reasons why you have been successful converting basically these people who did not know you even existed in the wide world into clients.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing, of course, and I feel like Jenna said, this isn't just going to pertain to Op City. I mean, this can encompass our entire business and how we initiate, with clients or potential clients. So I think the biggest thing for me was I kind of honestly finally figured out a formula of, hey, when someone's transferred to you, typically it's kind of I would not even say maybe warmly, but it's definitely more warm than the leads that you get through, if you're running ads and things, and it's kind of like cold calling essentially. But there are those people that come through and they had no idea they were going to be connected to a real estate agent, and they think you're the listing agent, or they just have no idea who you are. So I think, the biggest thing is I've just kind of got myself into a pattern of how, not just with Op City leads, but how I take these leads, and you have to know how to convert. So if that's not your strong point, you can get there. Practicing, Jenna knows none of us are great at conversion. I guess there's some people who come into it and they kind of have the knack for it, but I definitely did not. And I had to learn it. And so, I do feel like, I've heard Jenna speak a million times on her formula, which really putting that into practice is what helped me convert. But I feel like the biggest thing for me is, as soon as I get these calls, and I prefer these calls if I'm sitting in front of a computer and I'm not driving a car, because I always take notes. I want to be able to remember things. So first thing I do when I get these calls is, you want to make sure you do establish that trust, because if it's someone who didn't know they were going to reach a real estate agent, you need to make sure that they know, hey, John, this is Rebekah. I am with JPAR Real Estate. Just wanted to let you know I am a trusted real estate partner with Realtor.com. And that's why we were connected today. I've been working with them for X amount of time. Or if you want to say I've been in the industry for this amount of time, just so they know that you are partnered with Realtor.com. That makes them already feel like, I think they can trust you because they know that you're partnered with them. So I think that's kind of the first thing that I do. And then whatever criteria they came in on, whether it was a certain address, which I usually do while they're connecting me after I win the lead, I'll jump into MLS and I'll like type in the address and I'll be like, what can I learn about this property really quick? So I sound super professional. Then I will do that. But I also just kind of try to get into, after I establish that trust of who I am, let them know that kind of a little bit of the criteria, so they don't think that you're completely in the dark. Yeah. So I don't know if that's kind of the way that you want it, Jenna, but I feel like the establishment of trust, and then just reiterating, that a little bit about why they're here today, whether it's 123 Main Street or they're a buyer that's looking to purchase a home in the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So what I'd like to say, because I got my pen out because I like to take notes. Okay. We might just be of the same lineage. Okay. So did you hear that she essentially is paying attention and listening? Okay. And she is letting them know that she's a trusted partner. Okay. Letting them know who she is. She's a trusted partner with Realtor.com. I mean, that Realtor.com is a big deal. Okay. So that establishes a layer of credibility and trust. But then she's also paying attention to what they want, right? She doesn't go on a super long spiel about all of her accomplishments. She could, right? But she's trying to look at the property. She's trying to listen, see, pay attention to what it is they want and need. And it kind of helps get their guard down a little bit. Wouldn't you say that's a big thing? Because I would say half of the people that we get on referrals and live transfers, they think that you are the listing agent.
Yep.
So you have to make sure to get their guard down. Like, I know sometimes Rebekah and I have talked about this. Sometimes one of the first things out of our mouths is, hey, I know you might be you were looking for the listing agent. Well, guess what? I'm not the listing agent, but I can still help you. I'm actually, because I like to do the same thing. I like to try and get on the MLS or at least Realtor.com if I can't like log an MLS fast enough to just look at something of the property. Well, I have the information right here. And if there's not any questions that I can answer right now, I can get with the other agent working on this and make sure to get those answered.
Yeah.
See how that kind of lets our guard down. And Rebekah, what would you say? I know what I would say. I feel like we're probably going to say the same thing-ish because we've worked together for so long. But if they were looking for the listing agent, I know we always have two things that we like work on with this objection, air quote. But if they were looking for a listing agent and they called on a property, how can we like even just get their guard down further? And because I know everybody thinks that they're going to be charged more money. Mm-hmm. Okay. Or that they're going to save money.
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever broach that with them? Just like point blank?
I have before. It's been a while since I've had anyone do that, but I remember in the past, typically it's more of I'm not the listing agent on this property. And then I let them know I do have about X number of listings that are available that I'm happy to send you, but I'm not sure that they meet your criteria. However, as an agent, I have access to every home that's on the market and I have the information right in front of me. That's usually how I deal with it. Because I think sometimes people also have a misconception about listing agents versus buyer's agents. And most of them are both. I actually prefer to be both. I love working with buyers and I love listings, but I think that there's kind of a misconception in that sometimes. And so letting them know like, hey, I do this, but it doesn't fit what you need. However, this listing agent is representing their their seller and their interest. And so that's why they connected you with me, because I would be a potential to help you protect your interest in this, in this property or any others that you find that you might have interest in. So.
Okay. So I'm hearing like a pattern that is emerging. I'm all about patterns, right? Because if you can put something in a formula, you can duplicate it. Okay. So here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing establish trust and credibility. And I'm also hearing listen. Like, she listened to what they want. She's probably going to ask them more questions. We don't have like a role play thing going on necessarily, but I know that she does because I have her recorded phone calls, because we both record our phone calls sometimes. So we ask a lot of questions. Why? Because you want to pull out as much as you can from them, and then see how she educated them. And it's not in some, well, let me tell you, it's like, look, it's a very soft way of educating them. You're letting them know, like, it may not necessarily save you money to work with a listing agent. I actually have access to all of the properties on the MLS. You guys would be floored. People do not know this stuff. I'd say 99%.
Yeah.
They don't know it. And so it's showing them that you're an expert. You're offering them something of value. Something I had to say recently, which I have a listing appointment for a $900,000 house today. Through Op City people. Can I get some amens? Yeah. Okay. And I literally have only been working with these people for a week and a half. They only wanted to talk to the listing agent until I said, especially if they're looking at kind of these, like, really listen to your client. That's one of the top things you have to do. But just listening and kind of reading between the lines, I was like, look, I understand it can be a little off-putting to be put in touch with someone you thought was a listing agent. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, let me tell you something. It won't necessarily save you any money to not have representation, because most of the time listing agreements are written this way, where the listing agent will just keep all the commission. Okay. Not necessarily, but 99% of the time that is true. Okay. So they were like, oh, it's not going to save me or the sellers any money to not use a buyer's like a buyer's agent. So why would I not have representation? Okay. And then start to educate them and bring them value on the property. Say, I can bring you documents. I'm actually in here right now and I'm seeing this, and this about the property. And then just continue to ask them questions, educate, bring value. And literally that's all I did. I got in front of these people and we didn't get the house that they wanted. Okay. We were up against an investor who didn't do an option period and stuff like that, but we're making moves to do that. I'm going to list their house. Hopefully it's a kind of unique situation, but we'll see. So listen, build trust, give value, and educate. What else do you think we should let them know about connecting with leads, primarily that are either live transfer or that have like been connected with you?
Well, I kind of said I have like a list and a pattern of what I do. And the second thing after the establishing trust and just reiterating, the information is to get to their why. I think, you do have to ask them all the things, but I think the biggest thing is like, hey, I know that you're looking in this certain area. Are you a first-time home buyer? Are you moving here from out of state? Kind of find out what their reason is for their move. And I try to kind of get a little bit personal, not as much as you can on like a first call. But I've had some people that are like, hey, I'm moving back here because my grandkids live in Plano and I want to live near them. And I take notes because the next time I text them, or if they're starting to have frustrations, whatever comes, their way in their process of finding a home, I go back to that. If you have to remind them of like, hey, I know that we put in 2 offers on homes and we don't see that as much anymore. But if that's the case, they put in 2 offers on 2 different homes and they didn't get them. Like, I know that you're frustrated. You loved those homes, but I know that we're going to find you something great and get you close to being next to your grandkids so that you can spend more time with them. And so I feel like finding something out personal or their why is like super important. So that when you go back to them, when you text them the next time, you can follow up with them, not just on their house, but on a little bit more personal of a level.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so what Rebecca and I have kind of dubbed that is we find their North Star. You're about to take these people on a journey. You cannot custom craft any sort of journey, any sort of road, unless you know what direction you're headed. And that direction is always toward their why. And I don't care if it's an investor or the leader of a REIT or a hedge fund. Like, why would someone, I mean, you will be floored, and it's always an emotional reason. Unless we call it digging, it's digging deeper, asking questions. Like, don't ever just ask one question and leave it. Oh, we're looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. You are, but there's a reason why. Okay. So I'm going to ask another question until I get to that why. And if you want to hear some examples of that, we can dig into that another day. We've talked a lot about conversion before. That little tiny technique in and of itself will totally change your business. Like the people, I don't want to give too much personal information, but the people that I'm potentially listing their home today have a very, very heartfelt, specific reason why they're looking for a new house that has to do with someone in their family that has specific needs that they can't find in their current home. Okay. And that is powerful. And no other agents out there, unless they know about this technique, I guess, or they just have this instinct to do it, are really going that deep, especially on a first phone call. So get to that why. And if they just are giving you a hard time trying to get to the why, they don't want just a big backyard. Okay. It could be something that simple. Oh, awesome. You want a big backyard. You have dogs, kids. Well, actually, I just have never owned a home before, and I'm so sick and tired of being stuck in a little teeny tiny apartment. That's really like, you can take that to the next level, be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So you want your own space. Like, you really want to own something. And just keep pulling information out of them, okay, till you get to that really heartfelt reason why. And it could be that they grew up in apartments their whole lives, and this, none of their family made money before. I mean, I've heard all these stories, and they're the first one to like break the cycle. They're making great money. They get to be a homeowner. They're super excited. Like, that's a freaking North Star. A 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, it ain't. It's just walls, floors. Okay, so get to that why. So would you say the ultimate purpose of the first phone call is to establish trust and get to their why?
Yes, absolutely.
And do what? Remember it. Write it down.
Put it in your CRM in the notes right after you get off the phone call.
Okay, perfect. So I hope that helps. Now, guys, before we get off, I promise to give you some Opcity tips. I think there's a couple people on here who literally came just for that. Okay. If your score is down on Opcity or any of these referral platforms, they all kind of work the same. They work off of algorithms. Okay. The first thing that you want to do is change your zip code. If your score is low, change your zip code. It can be 1 over. All right. Change the zip code. I actually had a really low score for a while because I just turned it off. And I found out that if you turn it off for more than 2 weeks, you're going to drastically drop. Okay. Within, I think, a week of following what I'm about to share with you guys, my score went from like 108, which means like basically I'm not getting any leads, to 114. And it made Rebekah really mad because I didn't take leads in a really long time. She's like, mine's, or I think it was 115. She's like, mine's at 114. Dang it. And I'm like loaded with leads and closing deals. And like, I hadn't been using it for a while.
She's like, I got some tips I can share with you. Hold on.
It was really funny. Okay. So change your zip code. It kind of resets it. And don't tell anybody, like, don't go share this online because I don't know. I don't like Opcity to get mad. Okay. Also, when you go to update, it needs to be at least 30 to 50 characters and 3 sentences. So it needs to be literally, y'all, I say the same thing for everybody. If I don't have a specific update, if they're just in a nurture phase, I'm like, I'm working really hard on this lead, period. I'm nurturing them in my CRM, period. We'll keep nurturing them in my CRM, period. Guess what? There's your update. Copy, paste, bam, 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 into all of them. You're done in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. That will raise your score. Okay. Another thing is broaden your area, and it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. It just accept. And also, if you want to get your score up looking like you're accepting a heck, almost said the other one, a heck of a lot of leads, start to accept leases. Now, this might make people, you do what you think you need to do, okay? I don't work leases anymore, unless they're personal friends and family, or a referral from somebody out of state who needs me to take really good care of their mama or something like that, okay? But other than that, I don't do leases. If I were a new agent, I would. But for a while, I accepted leases on Opcity because no one else is doing it, and my score skyrocketed. And you also have to follow up with these people, I think a minimum of like once a week for a couple months, and you will see your score really skyrocket. Okay. And a lot of these folks who come in for leases, little tidbit, unless you're in an apartment location, they have way more options outside of the MLS for leases anyway. And I'm really honest with them about that. And I typically send them to someone else, and I do not take a referral fee. Okay. I just send them to somebody else who can do a better job, because I have access to maybe 25% of leases online, at least in Dallas Fort Worth. And the other 75%, they're going to do better without me involved. Okay. So that will skyrocket your score. Anything else on there, Rebecca, that you can remember to get the scores up on Opcity?
Just remember what I've started to do recently, because I felt like mine was like a little lower than it should be, is of course make sure you follow up and that you're not delinquent, because I've done that before. It's hard to remember those types of things sometimes. I would just make sure that, like, if you do meet with someone or they're in the next phase, that you remember to update that, because there was one client that I closed them out properly, but I didn't move them along the kind of the ranking of, hey, client, or, spoke to them, met with them, contract or whatever. And I went straight from like spoke with them to, oh my gosh, we went under contract 5 days ago. I need to update that. So, and it does help with that. Now, if I have some people that aren't responding to me, I do the copy paste a lot, like Jenna said, for your update. But if there's someone that I've gone in and I've sent them a bunch of properties and they're super active, I'll kind of change that up as well to like actually say in there. And it kind of reminds me too, in the notes section, to go back and I remember exactly what we talked about. So, and a lot of times I'll copy paste that over into my CRM as well.
Yeah.
So I can stay up to date on our conversations.
Okay. And I did forget this one too. So do that. And then also you can text people through most of these platforms, even if it's not Opcity. Okay. Which I'm going to give you a couple other platforms to look into here too. Text them like right after you get off the phone with them, because they will send an automated text for you, but you don't get points for that. Like you don't get a good score for that. So text them, and I would say don't do any sort of qualifying in that text either. Just be like, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for, sharing some of your time with me today. I know that you're a busy person, and say something about their why, that you found out, hopefully. Okay. And say, I'd love to reach back out, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to put you on a search, follow through, provide them value, all the things. Okay. So I think that's really good. We covered a lot. The last couple things that I will end with is there's a couple other platforms you can check out. One is called Ojo, OJO. And you guys, you do have to, sometimes these people are ready and sometimes they're like 3 to 6 months out. There's been a few that have been longer than that. But I will say these are quicker turnaround leads. Sorry, my throat is so tickly today. I don't know why. So Ojo is one. Referral Exchange Prime is one. And sold.com, I used to recommend as like a just referral source, but now they do charge. But they will actually set appointments for you. It isn't, not all the time. Sometimes it is just phone appointments, but sometimes literally they book appointments for you to go meet with these people at their houses. Do your research, stay safe. Okay. I've never not done my research, so I've always been safe, but they're all over the map, all different kind of neighborhoods. Some of them are high end, some of them are lower end. So just like do your research, stay safe, all those things. But thank you guys for joining us. And I'm really excited. Rebekah will probably come back on.
You said Ojo sold.com. I missed the second one.
Yes, Ojo, sold.com, and Referral Exchange Prime. Now, Referral Exchange Prime, you do have to have a certain number of transactions closed. I do not remember what that number is.
I don't remember either.
I can't remember, but they will, like, you can only get into that one if you're qualified to get into that one, okay? And also in the Facebook group, if you ever want to ask me about other referral services, I've probably used them, okay? So just tag me or Rebekah, we've probably used
We've tried it all.
We've tried it all. And the reason we love referrals is because, like, it's just another layer. Y'all, if you think of your lead gen like a river, okay? I want all sorts of currents. I want faster currents. I want slower currents. I don't mind picking up the phone and calling people. I want attraction marketing. I want it all. I want like layers upon layers upon layers of leads. And I love referral sources because I only have to pay on those initial leads, buy or sell. Okay. And after that, they're mine. Okay. So they make their money. It's an investment into having another person from a different sphere that now I have access to all of their sphere if I kick butt. Okay. So, thank you guys for coming. This went on a little bit longer, but I feel like it was really valuable. And if you have any topics that you guys want to hear about, I do have some stuff planned, but if you have any topics that y'all want to hear about, we would love to know and we will cover those. So
Yes.
thank you.
And if
all.
y'all have any questions on kind of my patterns and like the flow that I use, you can always text me. If you don't know how to get in touch with me, Jenna will tell you, but
Yes.
I'm always happy to kind of go over that with you guys as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have an amazing Wednesday and let's keep winning.
Happy Wednesday. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.